Muscular, wealthy CEO entered the bank and found his nurse with his daughter. What he did shocked everyone. For years earlier, he'd awakened to pain, darkness, and her voice, the only thing that made living through another excruciating day worth it. Have you ever had a moment when time stopped, when one glance changed everything you thought you knew? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. 4 years of searching ended in 30 seconds when Grant Whitaker locked eyes with the woman who saved his life, holding the hand of a child with his late wife's unmistakable eyes. The marble floor of Memphis Trust Credit Union echoed with his deliberate footsteps. Customers parted like water around a shark, conversations dropping to whispers as they recognized the billionaire CEO whose face graced business magazines. Grant barely noticed. His attention locked on an alert from his security team about unusual activity in his private accounts. Then he saw her. Aubrielle Jones stood at the customer service desk, her elegant fingers wrapped protectively around a small hand. A little girl, maybe 3 years old, with copper-brown curls and striking green eyes identical to the ones that had once looked at Grant with love before his wife's fatal accident. The bank fell silent. Security guards tensed, reaching for radios. The branch manager emerged from his office, recognizing trouble before it erupted. Everyone expected rage, demands, a scene worthy of the Whitaker temper. Instead, Grant walked forward with controlled steps, his 6'3" frame stopping at a respectful distance. Aubrielle's face drained of color, her body instinctively moving to shield the child. "Mr. Whitaker," she whispered, the professional tone she'd once used at his hospital bedside replaced by quiet fear. Grant didn't look at her. His eyes remained fixed on the little girl, who stared back with curious innocence. Without warning, he knelt down, bringing himself to her eye level. "Hello," he said, his voice gentler than anyone in that bank had ever heard from the notoriously ruthless businessman. The child smiled, his wife smiled, and waved shyly. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily," she answered, leaning against her mother's leg. "I'm 3.5. Grant's throat tightened. 3.5. The timeline matched perfectly. He looked up at Aubrielle, whose dark eyes begged him for something he couldn't identify. Mercy, perhaps, or silence. "Is she mine?" he whispered, low enough that only Aubrielle could hear. The little girl's innocent reply wasn't what shattered him. It was the fear in Aubrielle's eyes as she whispered back, "She doesn't know you were never supposed to find us." Have you ever had a moment when time stopped, when one glance changed everything you thought you knew? What would you do if you discovered a secret that rewrote your past? Drop a comment below. For years earlier, he'd awakened to pain, darkness, and her voice, the only thing that made living through another excruciating day worth it. The multi-car pileup on that icy Indianapolis highway had claimed 3 lives, including his wife Elizabeth. Grant survived, but barely. Shattered femur, punctured lung, traumatic brain injury. For weeks, he drifted between consciousness and darkness, machines breathing for him, monitors tracking his stubborn heart. Aubrielle Jones was assigned as his trauma nurse, working 12-hour shifts in the ICU. She was the first person he clearly saw when the fog lifted. "Welcome back," she'd said, checking his vitals with efficient movements. "Blink once if you can understand me." He blinked, throat too raw from intubation to speak. "Good. I am Obied. I'll be taking care of you." No starstruck, no recognition of his wealth or status. Just calm competence and eyes that held his pain without flinching. Days blurred into nights. She was there through fevers, through screaming physical therapy sessions, through nightmares where he relived the crash. When other staff tiptoed around his grief, she met it head-on. "You get 5 minutes of self-pity each morning," she told him when he refused therapy. "Then we work. Your body's still here for a reason." White walls, antiseptic air, and beeping monitors became his world for 92 days. But somehow her quiet laugh made the sterile room feel more like home than his empty mansion ever had. He noticed things. The gentle strength in her hands when changing bandages. How she hummed gospel songs during night shifts. the faint accent that emerged when she was tired, the warmth that shot through him when their fingers accidentally touched. She brought books instead of flowers, argued politics with him when the news depressed him, stayed late explaining medical terms his Harvard MBA hadn't prepared him for. "Where are you from?" he asked on day 53. "Small town Arkansas," she said. "Very small. Very Arkansas. Family, grandmother who raised me. 2 younger siblings I'm putting through college." No self-pity, just facts. By day 85, he looked for her even when other nurses were assigned. By day 90, he'd asked about her schedule, her favorite foods, her dreams beyond nursing. The day his doctor announced he could finally go home, he asked Aubrielle to dinner, only to discover she'd resigned that morning without saying goodbye, vanishing from Indianapolis without a trace. When was the last time someone's simple presence brought you comfort in your darkest hour? Have you ever connected with someone from a completely different world? Let me know in the comments. He offered her a choice: come willingly to explain, or he'd use every resource at Whitaker Holdings to uncover why she'd hidden his child, not knowing she'd already survived worse threats than his. The bank manager offered his office with nervous deference, ushering them into a glass-walled room where curious employees pretended not to stare. Lily sat at the corner desk with colored pencils and paper, blissfully creating artwork while adult tension thickened the air. 3 years, Grant said, voice dangerously quiet. 3 years I've been looking for you. Aubrielle stood straight, hands clasped before her, the professional mask she'd worn as his nurse firmly back in place. Only her eyes betrayed her, darting to Lily, then back to him. "You weren't supposed to find us," she repeated. "That much is obvious." His fingers gripped the leather chair. "What's not obvious is why my former nurse has a child with my dead wife's eyes." "Lower your voice," she whispered, glancing at Lily. "She doesn't know anything about you." "Then start talking." Now, the bank manager's office felt like a courtroom, judgment hanging in air thick with unspoken accusations, while outside the glass walls, curious eyes pretended not to watch the billionaire facing down the woman who held his future in her hands. "I left because I had to," she said. "I was pregnant. You were grieving your wife. Your family made it very clear what would happen if I stayed." His eyes narrowed. "My family. Your mother approached me, said a traumatized billionaire didn't need a pregnant black nurse complicating his recovery." Her chin lifted slightly. "She made arrangements." "Arrangements," he repeated coldly. "You mean she paid you off?" "I had 2 siblings in college and a grandmother with mounting medical bills. What would you have done?" The question hung between them. Grant's gaze shifted to Lily, who was carefully drawing what looked like a puppy with 5 legs and wings. "You should have told me," he said finally. "Would you have believed me?" A nurse claiming the billionaire she cared for was the father of her child. She shook her head. "Your mother made sure I understood exactly how that story would play in the press. When he demanded a DNA test, she didn't refuse. She simply slid a folder across the table. "Already done," she whispered. "But the test isn't what you should be afraid of. It's who paid me to disappear. What would you do if someone kept your child from you? Or what lengths would you go to protect your child from a world you couldn't control?" Share your thoughts below. The DNA test confirmed what his heart already knew, but the bank records revealed someone had been paying her to stay away, someone with access to his private accounts. Grant's temporary suite at the Peabody Memphis became their neutral ground. Lily explored the spacious rooms with wide-eyed wonder while they spread documents across the dining table. 99.8% probability, Grant said, reading the results again. Conducted 6 months after her birth. "I needed to know," Aubrielle admitted. "For her medical records, if nothing else." His eyes burned with questions. "Did you always know you were pregnant when you left?" "I suspected. Confirmed it 2 weeks later." She looked away. "That night before your discharge, when I remember," he cut her off, the memory of her in his hospital room after hours, their unexpected connection, her tears against his shoulder, still vivid after 4 years. His Memphis penthouse suite overlooked the Mississippi River, power and privilege in every detail. Yet he couldn't take his eyes off the little girl playing with hotel pencils, creating a masterpiece with the same focus he used closing billion-dollar deals. Why Memphis? He asked. Far enough from Indianapolis. Close to my sister in Mississippi. Decent hospitals hiring nurses. She hesitated. And the payments came with conditions. Specific distance requirements. Grant pulled up his private account records. Like most billionaires, he delegated daily finances to trusted staff. Now he scrolled through line items, finding it. Quarterly payments of $75,000 to a numbered account, coded as family maintenance. You've been receiving money from my accounts. Not directly. It goes through layers. Different account each time. Their fingers brushed as they reached for the same document. The brief contact sparked something neither acknowledged. Why come forward now, he asked. Why the credit union today? I didn't. Something changed with the last payment. Routing number, account codes. I came to figure it out. Running into you was... She swallowed. Not planned. Grant studied her face, remembering how her expressions had become a language he'd learned during his recovery. The slight tightening around her eyes when she was worried, the barely perceptible lift of her right eyebrow when skeptical. Who arranged this? All of it, he pressed. The payment trail led to Whitaker Holdings' private family account, one only 3 people could access: Grant, his trusted CFO, and his mother, Victoria. We need to talk about your mother, Aubrielle whispered, and why she showed me your wife's suicide note. Have you ever discovered someone was working against you behind the scenes? How did you handle betrayal from someone you trusted? Comment your experience below. His wife's death wasn't an accident, but neither was the way his mother used that truth to drive Aubrielle away. Storm clouds gathered over Memphis as they sat in heavy silence. Lily had finally fallen asleep in the suite's second bedroom, exhausted from the day's excitement and confusion. Suicide, Grant repeated, the word hollow in his mouth. You're telling me Elizabeth killed herself? Aubrielle nodded slowly. Your mother showed me the note. Said the medical examiner had covered it up to protect your family's reputation and stock prices. That's impossible. I saw the crash report. Multiple vehicles involved. Ice on the road. The report said she accelerated into the guardrail before the pileup. No braking. Aubrielle's voice softened. The note mentioned depression she'd hidden for years. Feeling trapped in a loveless marriage. Pressure to produce an heir. Grant stood abruptly, pacing the suite. Everything he thought he knew about his 5-year marriage tilted sideways. Elizabeth's increasing withdrawal. The separate bedrooms in their final year. Her refusal to discuss children. Why will my mother show you this? To ensure I understood what I was dealing with. The Whitaker machine that could bury secrets and people. Aubrielle wrapped her arms around herself. She made it clear, take the money, disappear, or face character assassination. A nurse taking advantage of a grieving patient. A gold digger targeting a billionaire. Thunder broke over Memphis as truths spilled between them. Lightning illuminating her face in flashes as she revealed how his mother had shown her the suicide note, the accusations, the demands that she'd disappear for the sake of the Whitaker name. The first payment arrived before I even left Indiana, she continued, with a burner phone and instructions. New identity paperwork followed. Your mother thinks of everything. Grant stopped pacing, turning to face her. You took the money. For Lily, Aubrielle said, not backing down. And yes, for my family too. My grandmother needed heart surgery. My brother was about to drop out of college to work full-time. Her voice strengthened. Judge me if you want, but I made the best choice with impossible options. Something shifted in his expression. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. He moved closer, drawn by the same magnetic pull that had connected them years ago in a hospital room. I would have helped you, he said quietly, if you trusted me. You were broken, she whispered. Physically, emotionally. I couldn't add to that. Lightning flashed again, and he was suddenly too close. Her breath caught as his hand lifted to her face, thumb brushing her cheek with a gentleness that broke something inside her. Their lips met in a kiss born of anger, regret, and 4 years of questions. His hands tangled in her hair as hers gripped his shirt, the storm outside matching the one breaking between them. A crash of thunder shook the windows. From the bedroom, Lily's frightened voice called out, Mommy. They broke apart, reality rushing back. As they moved together to comfort their daughter, his phone buzzed with his mother's text. I know you found them. Remember, some truths destroy more than they heal. Come home alone. Now. How far would you go to protect your family name? What secrets would you keep buried to preserve someone's memory? Tell me in the comments if you've ever had to choose between truth and protection. She wasn't just playing his game anymore. She was rewriting the rules. Have you ever watched someone completely transform right before your eyes? Monica wasn't the same quiet nurse who'd signed those papers 6 months ago. She walked into boardrooms like she owned them, which, legally, she was starting to. The wellness subsidiary launch was Monica's baby. While Brandon focused on damage control for Vanessa's lawsuit, Monica built something beautiful. Natural supplements, meditation apps, corporate wellness programs. The staff loved her. She remembered their kids' names, brought coffee during late nights, actually listened when they talked. Mrs. Clay has vision, the marketing director told reporters. She sees opportunities Mr. Clay missed. Brandon should have been worried. Instead, he found himself watching her during presentations, mesmerized by her confidence. The way she commanded attention without demanding it. How she leaned forward when making a point, her curves filling out those tailored dresses he'd bought her. Professional, but impossible to ignore. Can you imagine discovering your fake wife is actually a business genius? That's exactly what happened during the Q3 board meeting. Revenue is up 37%. Monica announced, clicking through slides she'd created herself. The wellness division accounts for 60% of that growth. The board members exchanged glances. They'd expected Brandon to present. Instead, his contract wife was showing them numbers that made their previous quarters look pathetic. How did you identify these market gaps? Board member Harrison asked. Monica smiled. That same gentle smile she'd given Brandon during his panic attack, but now it held power. I listen to what people actually need, not what we think they should want. After the meeting, Brandon cornered her in his office. The tension between them had been building for weeks. Stolen glances, hands brushing during document handovers, the electricity when they stood too close. You saved us, he said quietly. Again, we saved us, she corrected, but her voice was softer now. He stepped closer. She didn't step back. Monica, his phone buzzed. Emergency call from his lawyer. The moment shattered. But that night at dinner, something shifted. Brandon poured wine. Real wine, not the publicity stunt bottles. They talked about the business, about her ideas for expansion. Her eyes lit up when she explained her vision for employee wellness centers. You're incredible, he said, and meant it. The compliment hung in the air between them. Monica's cheeks flushed, but she didn't look away. Do you know someone who surprised you with hidden talents? Someone you completely underestimated? Share that story below. We love hearing about people who proved doubters wrong. Later that week, Monica found contract modification papers on her desk. Profit sharing, decision-making authority, IP rights. The legal language was complex, but the message was clear. Brandon was making her a real partner. She should have felt victorious. Instead, she felt something more dangerous. She was starting to care about him. Really care. The papers sat and signed on Brandon's desk for 3 days. When he finally signed them, he didn't read the fine print carefully. After all, what could a nurse from Georgia possibly do with tech patents? He had no idea those papers would soon make Monica Drew the most powerful woman in Silicon Valley and the architect of his destruction. The moment he started seeing her as a partner was the moment she stopped needing him as a husband. 3 months later, Monica's face was on the cover of Business Week. The contract wife who conquered Silicon Valley. Brandon should have been jealous. Instead, he felt proud. Have you ever realized you were falling for someone at exactly the wrong time? That's the position Brandon found himself in as he watched Monica field interview questions with the grace of someone born to leadership. Mrs. Clay, how does it feel to be the surprise success story of the year? Monica's laugh was genuine, warm. Success isn't about surprises. It's about preparation meeting opportunity. The interviewer leaned forward. And what about your relationship with your husband? How has business success affected your marriage? Brandon watched from his office as Monica's expression shifted, just slightly, but he caught it. A flicker of something complicated. "Brandon and I are partners in every sense," she said carefully. "He saw potential in me before I saw it in myself." That wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. Their company stock hit record highs that quarter. The wellness division Monica created was now their biggest revenue source. Board members who'd initially questioned the contract wife situation now praised Brandon's visionary partnership choice. The irony wasn't lost on him. That night, they celebrated at his Malibu house. Monica had changed out of her business suit into a flowing dress that hugged her curves perfectly. Brandon couldn't stop staring. To partnerships, he toasted, raising his champagne glass. "To success," she countered, but her eyes held as a beat too long. When did you realize your feelings had shifted from business to personal? Comment below if you've ever caught yourself falling for the last person you expected to. The champagne made them both bold. Monica kicked off her heels, curled up on his couch like she belonged there. Brandon sat closer than usual, close enough to smell her perfume. "Can I tell you something?" he asked. She nodded. "I used to think strength meant controlling everything around me. But watching you these past months, you don't control people. You inspire them. That's real power." Monica's breath caught. This wasn't the arrogant man who'd offered to buy her future. This was someone vulnerable, honest. "Brandon, I know what our contract says," he continued. "But somewhere along the way, this stopped feeling like business to me." The space between them charged with possibility. His hand reached for her face, thumb tracing her cheek. She leaned into the touch. Their kiss was inevitable. Months of tension, respect, and growing attraction finally finding release. She tasted like champagne and promises. He kissed her like she was precious, not purchased. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Monica's expression was unreadable. "This complicates things," she whispered. "Maybe," he said, "or maybe it simplifies them." But as Brandon slept peacefully that night, arm around the woman he was learning to love, Monica lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The private investigator's report had arrived that afternoon. Vanessa Sterling had been embezzling from her own charity for years. Monica held Brandon's revenge in her hands. The question was, would she use it to save him or destroy him? She had the power to destroy his enemy, but using it would mean admitting she cared about more than money. The manila envelope sat on Monica's nightstand like a loaded gun. Inside, bank records, falsified tax documents, proof that Vanessa Sterling had stolen over $2 million from children's charities. It was enough to destroy Brandon's ex-girlfriend completely. Monica should have felt satisfied. Instead, she felt conflicted. Have you ever held someone's fate in your hands? What did you choose, revenge or mercy? Tell us in the comments how you handled that moment of power. Brandon was in the shower, humming, something she'd never heard from him before. Last night had changed them both. The way he touched her, looked at her, whispered her name like a prayer instead of a contract clause. But Monica remembered his original words. "Trust me, nobody will question my masculinity now. Look what I conquered." Those words still stung, even months later. Her phone buzzed. Text from her lawyer. "When do you want to move forward with the Vanessa evidence? This could end her lawsuit permanently." Monica stared at the message. She could save Brandon's reputation, destroy his tormentor, and prove her loyalty all at once. Or she could hold on to this information, use it when she needed leverage most. Brandon emerged from the bathroom, towel around his waist, water droplets on his chest. 6 months ago, she would have looked away. Now she found herself admiring the view. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, kissing her forehead like they were a real couple. The casual intimacy made her heart skip. Can you love someone who originally saw you as a joke? When does self-respect override forgiveness? These are questions Monica wrestled with every day. "I need to tell you something," she said, holding up the envelope. Brandon's expression grew serious as she explained the evidence against Vanessa. His jaw tightened with each detail. "She's been stealing from sick kids while trying to destroy me." For 3 years, Monica confirmed. "We can end her lawsuit today, permanently." Instead of celebrating, Brandon sat heavily on the bed. "You found this for me?" His voice was quiet. "I found it for us," Monica said, surprising herself with the truth. He pulled her close, burying his face in her neck. "I don't deserve you." "You didn't," she agreed. "But maybe you're becoming someone who does." Their lovemaking that morning was different, slower, deeper, filled with emotion neither wanted to name. Brandon worshipped her body like she was sacred, not purchased. Monica let herself get lost in the feeling of being truly wanted. Afterward, as they planned the media strategy to expose Vanessa, Monica felt something she hadn't experienced in months: genuine partnership. They moved together seamlessly, anticipating each other's thoughts, building on each other's ideas. "We make a good team," Brandon said, reviewing their plan. "We do," Monica agreed. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Was this real, or was she just another business acquisition he'd learned to appreciate? That afternoon, they held a press conference. The evidence against Vanessa was damning. Media outlets picked up the story immediately. Brandon's vindication was complete. "How does it feel to be cleared of all allegations?" a reporter asked. Brandon looked at Monica before answering. "It feels like justice. But more than that, it feels like having someone believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself." His words sounded genuine. Monica wanted to believe them. But that night, as victory celebrations continued around them, Monica made a decision that would change everything. She was done being grateful for scraps of affection from a man who'd bought her like property. It was time to remind Brandon Clay who really held the power now. The night he asked her to love him for real was the night she decided to take everything he owned. Brandon poured 2 glasses of wine on the terrace overlooking the Pacific. The sunset painted everything golden: his house, his view, his life that finally felt complete. "Monica," he started, voice nervous in a way she'd never heard. "These past few months, what we've built together." She waited, champagne bubbling in her chest from their victory over Vanessa. "I want to dissolve our contract." The words hit like cold water. Have you ever had someone offer you exactly what you thought you wanted at exactly the wrong moment? Monica felt her smile freeze in place. "Dissolve it?" she repeated carefully. "I want to marry you for real," Brandon continued, reaching for her hands. "No contracts, no business arrangements. Just us. I'm falling in love with you, Monica. Hell, I think I already have." 6 months ago, these words would have been her fairy tale ending. Now they felt like salt in an old wound. "Why now?" she asked. "Because you saved me. Not just the business me. You made me remember who I wanted to be." His confession was beautiful, genuine, everything she dreamed of hearing, which made what she discovered that afternoon so much worse. While cleaning his office earlier, Monica had found a folder marked personal. Inside were printed emails between Brandon and his publicist from their wedding day. "She's perfect for this. Nobody will believe I could actually want her. It's the ultimate middle finger to everyone who questioned my masculinity. The shock value alone is worth millions in free publicity. Trust me, a year with her and no one will ever question what kind of man I am again." Monica had read every word, her heart breaking with each line. When did someone you trusted reveal their true character? How did that moment change you? Share your story below. Heartbreak teaches us all something. Now Brandon stood before her, declaring love with the same mouth that had called her a publicity stunt. "Monica, say something." She looked at this man she'd grown to respect, to care for, maybe even to love. But love built on deception was just another form of lie. "I need time to think," she said quietly. His face fell. "Time to think about what?" "About whether I can trust you." That night, they made love with desperate intensity. Brandon poured everything into touching her, hands mapping her curves like he was memorizing them, mouth whispering promises against her skin. Monica gave herself completely to the moment, knowing it would be their last. As Brandon slept peacefully beside her, Monica made 3 phone calls. First, to her lawyer about activating certain contract clauses. Second, to a board member who'd always questioned Brandon's leadership decisions. Third, to a private investigator about staging photographs. By morning, the man who had bought her would lose everything to the woman he'd learned to love. The irony was perfect, the timing was tragic. But Monica Drew had learned something valuable these past months. Power wasn't about being chosen. Power was about doing the choosing. And she chose revenge. While he planned their real wedding, she planned his professional funeral. Monica had exactly 14 days to execute the most sophisticated corporate takeover in Silicon Valley history. She worked from the guest bedroom, documents spread across the bed like battle plans. Have you ever had to choose between love and self-respect? That's the impossible position Monica found herself in as she built Brandon's destruction with the same meticulous care she'd used to build his empire. The contract modifications Brandon had signed months earlier contained a clause he'd overlooked. If either party violated their original agreement through emotional infidelity, ownership would immediately transfer to the injured spouse. Monica's lawyer had crafted that language carefully. Emotional infidelity can be interpreted many ways, Monica murmured, reviewing the legal documents. Physical contact with an ex-partner, private meetings, even suggestive text messages. All she needed was evidence, real or manufactured. Brandon knocked on her door, interrupting her planning. Hey, can we talk about the wedding venue? I found this place in Napa. Wedding? Monica looked up from her laptop. Our real wedding, he said, sitting on the bed beside her papers. I want to do it right this time. Your family, my family, people who actually matter to us. His enthusiasm was genuine, heartbreaking. Monica felt the knife twist deeper in her chest. Brandon, I haven't said yes yet. But you will, he said confidently, kissing her temple. We're good together, Monica. We balance each other out. If only he'd realized that 6 months earlier, before calling her his publicity stunt. What's worse, someone who never loved you, or someone who learned to love you too late? Let us know in the comments what you think Monica should do. That afternoon, Monica met with 3 key board members at a downtown restaurant. These were men who'd built fortunes on spotting opportunities and weaknesses. Brandon's been erratic lately. She confided over expensive wine, making decisions based on emotion rather than logic. The Vanessa situation was handled well, Harrison pointed out. That was my strategy, Monica said quietly. Brandon wanted to ignore it, hope it went away. She pulled out financial projections, carefully edited to show concerning trends. I'm worried about the company's future under his current leadership style. The board members exchanged glances. They noticed Brandon's increasing absences, his focus on personal matters over business obligations. What are you suggesting? Harrison asked. I'm not suggesting anything, Monica replied. I'm just concerned. As a major shareholder. That night, Brandon cooked dinner. Actually cooked, not ordered from their usual restaurant. He'd learned she loved pasta, so he'd spent the afternoon perfecting his sauce recipe. This is good, Monica said, genuinely surprised. I've been watching cooking videos, he admitted sheepishly. Figured if we're going to be a real married couple, I should learn some husband skills. The sweetness of the gesture made her heart ache. This was the man she could have loved, the one who paid attention, who tried, who cared about making her happy. But it was too late. The wheels were already in motion. Monica's phone buzzed. Text from the private investigator. Photos ready. Just say when. She deleted the message, smiled at Brandon across their candlelit table, and made her final choice. Tomorrow, the world would see Brandon Clay with his ex-girlfriend. The day after that, Monica would own everything he'd built. By the weekend, she'd be the most powerful woman in Silicon Valley. And Brandon would finally understand exactly what it felt like to be used. The photo that destroyed Brandon Clay wasn't real, but by the time he proved it, he'd already lost everything. Monica's hand shook as she opened the email attachment. The private investigator had outdone himself. The photo looked completely authentic. Brandon and Vanessa, sterling outside a hotel, her hand on his chest, his face turned toward hers in what appeared to be an intimate moment. Except Brandon had been in Seattle that day for a conference. Monica knew because she'd helped plan his schedule. Have you ever held someone's destruction in your hands? The power to end everything they'd worked for with a single click? Monica stared at that photo for 10 minutes, knowing it would change both their lives forever. She forwarded it to herself, then deleted the original email. At 3 p.m., Monica burst into Brandon's office, laptop in hand, tears streaming down her face. His assistant looked up in alarm as Monica slammed the door behind her. "What the hell is this?" Monica screamed, turning the laptop toward him. Brandon's face went white as he stared at the image. "Monica, that's not. I wasn't. Don't you dare lie to me." Her performance was flawless, months of genuine hurt lending authenticity to her rage. "How long has this been going on?" "It's not going on. I haven't seen Vanessa since the lawsuit ended. This photo, it's fake. It has to be. Fake." Monica laughed bitterly. "Just like our marriage." The office walls were thin. By 4 p.m., everyone in the building had heard the screaming match. By 5 p.m., Monica was meeting with the board's emergency session. "I trusted him," she told the 12 men in suits, dabbing her eyes with tissues. "I defended him against everyone who said this marriage was just business. I actually fell in love with him." Harrison leaned forward. "Monica, we're so sorry. This must be devastating." "It's not about me," she said quietly. "It's about the company. If Brandon's having an affair with the woman who tried to destroy us, how can we trust his judgment? What other compromises is he making? Can you imagine discovering your spouse's betrayal through a photograph? How would you handle that moment? Share your thoughts below. We want to hear how you'd react." The board voted unanimously. Contract breach due to adultery. All assets transferred to the injured party, Monica Drew Clay. Brandon arrived as security was changing the locks on his office. "You can't do this," he shouted across the lobby. "That photo is fake. I can prove it." Monica stood at the top of the stairs, flanked by corporate lawyers. "Prove it to who, Brandon? Your company?" "Oh wait, it's my company now." His face crumpled. This wasn't the arrogant man who'd bought her like property. This was someone broken, desperate. "Monica, please. I love you. Whatever you think happened. I think," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "that you got exactly what you paid for. A wife who learned to play the game better than you." The gathered employees murmured among themselves. Some looked shocked. Others nodded approvingly. They'd always liked Monica better anyway. "Security will escort you out," Monica continued. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." As Brandon was led away, he looked back once. The expression on his face wasn't anger or even surprise. It was understanding. He knew exactly what she'd done, and maybe for the first time, he understood why. That night, Monica sat in Brandon's former office, now hers, looking out at the city lights. She'd won everything she'd wanted. So why did victory taste like ashes in her mouth? She had won everything she wanted. So why did victory feel like the loneliest place on earth? The Business Journal's headline read, "From Contract to Crown, How Monica Drew Conquered Silicon Valley." Her photo dominated the front page. Confident, powerful, everything she dreamed of becoming. But dreams achieved through revenge had a bitter aftertaste. Monica's first day as CEO was a media circus. Reporters crowded outside the building, eager for quotes about her incredible rise and Brandon's spectacular fall. Have you ever gotten exactly what you wanted only to realize it wasn't what you needed? Monica discovered that winning could feel a lot like losing when you had no one to share it with. "Mrs. Drew Clay," a reporter called out as she entered the building. "How does it feel to go from hired wife to company owner in less than a year?" Monica paused, cameras flashing around her. "It feels like justice," she said simply, but inside it felt hollow. Her new corner office still smelled like Brandon's cologne. His personal items sat in boxes by the door, family photos, awards, a small cactus plant she'd given him months ago. Monica touched the plant's tiny spikes and remembered his surprised smile when she'd explained it was nearly impossible to kill. "Like our partnership," she'd joked then. Now the partnership was dead, and she'd been the one to kill it. The staff treated her with respect, but she noticed the whispered conversations that stopped when she walked by. They loved working for both of them together. Now they just worked for her. "Mom." Her new assistant knocked softly. "The board wants to meet about quarterly projections." Monica looked up from her desk. "Send them my analysis from last week." "And stop calling me ma'am." Monica's fine. That evening, alone in the Malibu mansion that now legally belonged to her, Monica poured a glass of wine and sat on the terrace where Brandon had asked her to marry him for real. The sunset was just as beautiful, the view just as breathtaking, but she was completely alone. Her phone buzzed constantly. Interview requests, business partnerships, dinner invitations from people who suddenly found her fascinating. Everyone wanted a piece of the woman who'd outsmarted Silicon Valley's golden boy. What's the point of having everything if you have no one who truly knows you? Monica scrolled through her contacts, looking for someone to call, someone to share this moment with. Her finger hovered over Brandon's number. Still in her phone, still marked husband. She almost called him. Almost. Instead, she found herself in the guest bedroom where she'd planned his destruction. The legal documents were still scattered across the bed like evidence of a crime, which she supposed they were. Monica picked up one of the papers, the original contract modification that had made all this possible. Brandon's signature looked trusting, hopeful. He'd signed it believing they were becoming real partners. They had been real partners. For a few beautiful months, they'd been everything she'd dreamed a marriage could be, until she remembered what he'd really thought of her. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Monica. Brandon's voice was tired, defeated. We need to talk. Her heart hammered against her ribs. There's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about, he said quietly. I know what you did. I know why you did it. And I know there's something you need to know about me. The line went quiet except for their breathing. I'm pregnant, Brandon. The words fell out of her mouth before she could stop them. His sharp intake of breath told her everything she needed to know. Some victories came with consequences no one could plan for. The baby growing inside her wasn't just his child. It was proof that everything he'd been told about himself was a lie. Monica stared at the pregnancy test, 2 pink lines that changed everything. 3 weeks since she destroyed Brandon's life. 3 weeks since she'd last seen him. And now this. Her hand moved instinctively to her still flat stomach. A baby. Brandon's baby. The same Brandon who'd been told his entire adult life that he was sterile. Have you ever discovered that your biggest insecurity was based on a lie? Monica was about to uncover a truth that would shake both their worlds. She'd been researching obsessively since the positive test, trying to understand how this was possible. Brandon had medical records going back 5 years, all confirming his inability to have children. Records that had driven him to desperate measures to prove his masculinity. Records that, Monica was discovering, had been falsified. It started with a phone call to Brandon's former doctor, the one who'd originally diagnosed his condition. Dr. Martinez sounded confused when Monica explained the situation. Mrs. Clay, I never diagnosed your husband with sterility. His tests showed slightly low motility, but nothing that would prevent pregnancy with time and effort. Monica's blood ran cold. Then where did the diagnosis come from? I'm not sure. He stopped coming to my practice about 5 years ago. Said he was switching to a fertility specialist his girlfriend recommended. Vanessa Sterling. Of course. Monica spent the next 2 days digging through medical records, insurance claims, pharmacy receipts. The picture that emerged was devastating. Vanessa had been drugging Brandon. Low-dose hormonal suppressants mixed into his morning protein shakes, enough to temporarily affect his fertility without obvious side effects. She'd found a corrupt doctor to provide false test results, convinced Brandon he was defective, then used his insecurity to control their relationship. When did you realize someone you trusted had been lying to you about who you were? The betrayal Monica uncovered went deeper than business. It was psychological warfare. Brandon had built his entire self-image around being broken. His desperate need to prove his masculinity, his willingness to enter a fake marriage, his cruel treatment of Monica. All of it stemmed from Vanessa's calculated deception. Monica sat in her office, surrounded by evidence of a 5-year gaslighting campaign, and felt something she hadn't expected: sympathy for the man she destroyed. Her phone buzzed. Brandon's name on the screen. I know you're pregnant, he said without preamble when she answered. And I know whose child it is. Brandon, I also know you think I can't father children. But Monica, I need to tell you something about Vanessa, about what she did to me. Monica closed her eyes. I know. Silence. What do you mean, you know? I mean, I found the medical records, the false diagnoses, the drug she was giving you. I know she convinced you that you were sterile when you weren't. His breathing was ragged on the other end of the line. You know, he repeated quietly, and you still destroyed me. Yes. What? Monica touched her stomach where their child was growing. Because knowing why you were cruel doesn't make the cruelty hurt less. The truth hung between them like a bridge neither knew how to cross. The conversation that could destroy them both was the only one that could save what was left of their souls. Brandon stood outside Monica's office building at midnight, rain soaking through his jacket. He'd been there for an hour, trying to find the courage to go inside. Monica watched him from her window 40 floors up. Even in defeat, even destroyed, he looked like a man trying to find his way back to honor. When did you realize that some conversations can't be avoided, no matter how much they might hurt? Monica took the elevator down to meet the father of her child. They sat in the empty lobby, two people who'd loved and betrayed each other, trying to figure out what came next. I brought something, Brandon said, pulling out a thick manila folder. Everything I found about what Vanessa did to me. Medical records, pharmacy receipts, even recorded phone calls where she talks about the treatments she was giving me. Monica looked through the documents. 5 years of systematic psychological abuse, designed to make Brandon question his own worth as a man. She destroyed me piece by piece, he said quietly. Made me believe I was less than human because I couldn't give her children. I was so desperate to prove I was still a man that you bought a wife to show off, Monica finished. Yes. His voice cracked. I treated you like property because I felt like damaged goods. I know that's not an excuse. Have you ever had to choose between understanding someone and forgiving them? Monica realized they weren't the same thing. You called me your ultimate middle finger to the world, she said. Do you remember that? Brandon flinched. You heard that. I found the emails. Every cruel word you said about me, about our arrangement, about how nobody would believe you could actually want someone like me. Monica, I was a punchline to you. A fat black nurse who'd be grateful for any attention from a man like you. Tears ran down Brandon's face. I was wrong. I was broken and angry and wrong about everything. Monica placed his hand on her stomach, where their child was growing beneath her shirt. This baby is going to ask about their parents someday, she said. What are we going to tell them? That daddy bought mommy like a business deal? That mommy destroyed daddy's life for revenge? Brandon's hand was warm against her skin, protective already. We tell them the truth, he said, that we both made terrible choices, that we hurt each other, and that we're trying to do better. Are we? Monica asked. Trying to do better? I want to be, Brandon said. I want to be the man you saw in me during those few good months. The man who deserved your respect. Monica looked at this broken, rain-soaked man who'd fathered her child. I'll give you back the company, she said quietly. We can co-manage it, split ownership. Our child deserves parents who can work together. And us. Brandon's voice was barely a whisper. Monica pulled his hand away from her stomach. There is no us, Brandon. Some things once broken stay broken. But there's our baby. And maybe that's enough. Outside, dawn was breaking over Silicon Valley. Two people who destroyed each other were learning to build something new from the wreckage. 2 years later, they ran competing companies, raised a child together, and proved that some love stories are too complex for fairy tale endings. Little Emma Claydrew took her first steps in Monica's office on a Tuesday morning, wobbling between her mother's desk and her father's arms. Come to daddy, princess, Brandon called softly, hands outstretched. Monica watched from behind her computer, heart clenching at the pure love in Brandon's voice. Whatever else had been broken between them, his devotion to their daughter was absolute. Have you ever seen someone become the person they were always meant to be? Fatherhood had transformed Brandon completely. She's got your determination, he said as Emma grabbed his fingers and squeezed. And your stubborn streak, Monica replied, but she was smiling. Their arrangement was unconventional, but it worked. Brandon had started his own tech company after Monica gave him back half of their original business. They were technically competitors now, but they shared custody, board meetings, and a complicated respect that had grown from mutual destruction. Do you think two people who've hurt each other can build something beautiful together? Monica and Brandon were living proof that the answer wasn't simple. Emma's first birthday party brought both families together. Monica's relatives from Georgia, Brandon's parents from San Francisco. The tension was manageable now, softened by a gorgeous baby who looked like the best of both worlds. "She's perfect," Monica's mother said, bouncing Emma on her hip. "Smart like her mama, charming like her daddy." Brandon overheard and smiled sadly. "I wish things had been different. Monica deserved better than what I gave her." "What you gave her," Monica's mother said firmly, "was a daughter and a wake-up call about her own worth. Sometimes that's enough." Later, as guests were leaving, Brandon helped Monica clean up wrapping paper and cake crumbs. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for letting me be part of this. She's your daughter too. I mean all of it. The business, the custody arrangement, the way you've let me prove I can be different." Monica paused in her cleaning. "Brandon, can I ask you something? Do you ever regret it? The way we started?" He considered the question seriously. "I regret hurting you. I regret treating you like you were less than amazing. But do I regret meeting you?" He looked at Emma, asleep in her high chair. "How can I regret the path that gave me her? That taught me who I really wanted to be?" Monica nodded. "I used to be angry that we couldn't make it work. Now I think maybe we taught each other exactly what we needed to learn." "What did I teach you?" "That I don't need anyone's approval to be valuable. That my worth isn't determined by who wants me, but by what I accomplish." "And what did you teach me?" Monica smiled. "That love isn't about conquest. It's about choice. Every day, choosing to see someone's best self and helping them become it." They finished cleaning in comfortable silence, co-parents who'd found peace in complexity. As Brandon prepared to leave with Emma for his weekend, he paused at the door. "Monica, for what it's worth, I think you're the strongest person I've ever met. And someday, when the right person comes along, they're going to be amazed by what you've built." "Maybe," Monica said, "but I'm not looking for someone to complete me anymore. I'm complete already." After they left, Monica sat in her quiet house, surrounded by the life she'd built from heartbreak and determination. Some love stories don't end with weddings. Sometimes they end with wisdom, with growth, with the understanding that the most powerful person in any relationship is the one who knows their worth. Hit that notification bell, because next week we're diving into another story about love, revenge, and the price of pride. Until then, remember, the most powerful person in any relationship is the one who knows their worth. What did this story teach you about relationships, power, and second chances? Share your thoughts below, and remember to like and subscribe for more stories that make you think, feel, and grow.